Put the tool down and step away from the fence right now.
I live 3 houses down. My ID is in my pocket.
Don't you tell me where to look. Hands on the fence. Hands behind your head or you're getting tasked.
Oh my God, what are they doing?
The teenager in the footage is 17-year-old Jamal Sterling, a high school honors student with a 4.2 GPA and a documented history of community service. At the time of this recording, Jamal was working his weekend job, a small landscaping business he operated to fund his upcoming college tuition at Stanford. He earns approximately $450 per weekend, servicing the elderly residents of his affluent neighborhood who value his precision and work ethic. He was standing on the manicured lawn of a property valued at $1.2 million, performing a task he has done every Saturday for 3 years without incident. His family's home, located just 4 doors down, is valued at $1.4 million, making him a resident of the very neighborhood he is being accused of casing. The antagonist is 64-year-old Martha Higgins, a retired real estate agent and longtime resident of the Oaks. Higgins has lived in this cul-de-sac for 32 years and draws a pension of approximately $72,000 annually. Internal police records later revealed that Higgins had called 911 14 times in the previous 24 months, with 80% of those calls targeting non-white individuals entering the neighborhood. Her documented bias is not a matter of speculation. It is a matter of public record, revealing a persistent pattern of weaponized reporting, where she utilizes the police department as a private security firm to enforce her personal racial boundaries. When a civilian weaponizes the police via a false or exaggerated report, who bears the primary responsibility for the resulting escalation? Does the fault lie with the caller for providing the false premise, or with the officer for failing to conduct a basic scene assessment before resorting to force? Let me know in the comments if you believe the officer should have questioned the suspicious person report before drawing his weapon on a child with a lawn tool. The Oaks is a neighborhood defined by its silence and its cost. Located in an upper-middle-class enclave in Northern Virginia, the area is characterized by heavy oak canopies, colonial-style brick homes, and a distinct lack of sidewalk traffic. The air on this July afternoon was thick, 92 degrees with high humidity, smelling of freshly cut fescue and gasoline. The demographics of the neighborhood have shifted slowly over the last decade, with younger, affluent families of color moving into what was once a homogeneous retirement community. This economic shift has created an invisible but palpable friction between the founding residents and the newcomers, where the definition of belonging is increasingly contested by those who remember the neighborhood's previous demographics. Jamal Sterling feels safe because he is in his own neighborhood, performing a lawful task under a verbal contract with a neighbor. To him, the lawnmower and trimmer are symbols of industry and belonging. For Martha Higgins, however, these objects are interpreted through a lens of territorial defense. She does not see a neighbor's son. She sees a .5 using a loud machine to mask the sound of a break-in. This psychological disconnect is rooted in a cognitive bias where the presence of a black male in a high-value space is processed as a violation rather than a presence. Higgins had previously confronted Jamal's mother, Senator Elena Sterling, regarding the .6 of their backyard play structure, a dispute that ended with the senator citing local zoning laws and Higgins vowing to .7 the family. The Bodycam footage shows Officer Miller's patrol vehicle rounding the corner at a speed inconsistent with a welfare check, indicating he has already accepted the caller's frantic narrative as fact. The vehicle's suspension dips as he brakes hard, the tires chirping against the hot asphalt. Dispatch, I'm out with the suspect. Dark-skinned male, armed with some kind of long metal object. The audio reveals Miller's heart rate is likely elevated, his speech rapid and clipped, a phenomenon known as .8, which can distort a person's perception of time and threat. Ma'am, stay back in your house. I have it under control. Miller shouts this toward Higgins's porch, where she is visible behind a screen door, pointing frantically at Jamal, who is currently 30 feet away, standing perfectly still. He was looking in the windows, officer. He's been circling the house for 20 minutes. Higgins's voice is high-pitched, a calculated display of distress designed to validate the officer's aggressive posture. I wasn't looking in windows. I'm edging the sidewalk. Look at the grass. Jamal gestures with a nod toward the perfectly straight line of the lawn, a forensic detail that Miller fails to process in his current state of tunnel vision. Don't you tell me where to look. Turn around and put your hands on the fence. Miller's command is a dominance display. He is no longer investigating a crime, he is enforcing a social hierarchy. The camera captures Miller closing the distance, his boots crunching on the gravel and forcibly spinning Jamal around. He slams the 17-year-old's chest against the wooden slats of the neighbor's fence with enough force to cause a hollow thud. "Officer, I have my wallet in my back pocket. My ID says I live at 402 Oak Lane. My mother is Senator Sterling." The mention of the senator's name causes a momentary pause in Miller's movement. A 3-second window where his brain attempts to reconcile the quote 9 before him with the political power associated with that name. "I don't care if you're the Prince of Bel-Air. Get on the fence before I put you on the fence." Miller wrenched Jamal's arms behind his back with a torque that risks shoulder dislocation, his breathing heavy and audible on the microphone. The audio reveals no sounds of resistance from Jamal, no tensing of the muscles, no verbal protests. Only the heavy mechanical clicking of the handcuffs as they are ratcheted down past the point of safety. "You're hurting my wrists. They're too tight." Jamal's voice remains calm, a psychological tactic used to de-escalate, though it often has the opposite effect on officers who perceive a lack of fear as a lack of respect. "You should have thought about that before you started casing houses. Keep your mouth shut." Miller begins a search of Jamal's person, his hands moving into the pockets of the teenager's work shorts, searching for a weapon that does not exist. The footage shows Miller pulling out a leather wallet, flipping it open, and glancing at the driver's license. His brow furrows as he sees the address, which is less than 100 yards from where they are currently standing. "This says you live on Oak Lane. Why are you over here?" Miller's question is logically inconsistent. He is questioning why a resident is walking in his own neighborhood. "I just told you. I'm cutting the grass for Mrs. Gable. She's 90. She can't do it herself." The camera pans slightly to show the property in question, where the grass is halfway mowed and the lawnmower sits idling in the center of the yard. Despite this clear evidence of labor, Miller does not remove the handcuffs. Instead, he maintains his grip on Jamal's bicep. "Is that right? Mrs. Gable, you say?" "I'm going to need to verify that." Miller looks back toward Higgins's house, seeking further validation for his actions. "She's not even home, officer. I saw her leave with a younger woman an hour ago. He's been waiting for them to leave." Higgins shouts this from her porch, providing a new narrative of, quote, 10 to replace the, quote, 11 claim. At this point, the officer has ignored the physical evidence of the lawnmower, the trimmer, and the verbal testimony of the teenager in favor of a neighbor's shifting story. If you were in Jamal's position, would you remain silent to preserve your legal standing? Or would you continue to try to explain the situation to an officer who clearly isn't listening? Does the fact that his mother is a senator change your perspective on how he should handle the police? Share your reasoning below. As the confrontation continues, a black Mercedes-Benz SUV pulls into the frame, stopping abruptly behind the patrol car. The door opens, and Senator Elena Sterling steps out. She is not dressed in a suit, but in athletic gear, having been on a jog when she saw the patrol lights in her neighborhood. "Officer, what is the meaning of this?" "That is my son." Her voice is controlled, the tone of a person used to commanding a room of legislators, which immediately shifts the power dynamic of the scene. "Ma'am, stay back. This is an active investigation into a suspicious person." Miller's response is a rehearsed script, but his body language betrays him. He shifts his weight to his back foot, creating distance between himself and the senator. "His name is Jamal Sterling. He is a resident of this street. He is currently working. Release him immediately." The senator does not move closer, maintaining a legal distance while her eyes remain fixed on Miller's badge number. "He was reported for suspicious activity and looking into windows. I have to verify his story." Miller's voice has lost its bark. It is now defensive, the sound of an individual realizing he has stepped into a jurisdictional minefield. "Who reported him? Was it Mrs. Higgins? Because we have a pending harassment injunction against her." The mention of the quote 12 is the turning point. Miller's head tilts slightly to the left, his eyes darting toward Higgins's house. The realization hits with visible physical cues. The camera captures Miller's posture collapse. His shoulders drop, and his grip on Jamal's arm loosens. He realizes that he hasn't just arrested a kid. He has violated the civil rights of the son of a high-ranking government official with the power to oversee his department's budget. I was just responding to the call as it was dispatched, Senator. Miller begins to fumble with the handcuff keys, his fingers lacking the precision they had moments ago. Unlock him. Now. The senator's command is quiet, carrying more weight than Miller's previous shouting. The quote, 13 of the handcuffs releasing is the only sound in the cul-de-sac. Jamal rubs his wrists, which are visibly swollen and red, a forensic indicator of quote 14 under the Fourth Amendment. Miller attempts to approach Higgins's house to quote 15 the report, but she has already retreated inside, the curtains drawing shut. The camera records Miller standing on the sidewalk, alone, between a senator and a closed door. Justice in the United States is rarely swift, and in the case of Sterling versus City, it was a slow, grinding process of discovery and litigation. The internal affairs investigation took 6 months, during which Officer Miller was placed on administrative leave. The investigation concluded that Miller had violated departmental policy regarding quote 16 and had used quote 17 against a non-resisting minor. He was terminated from the force 8 months after the incident. The forensic analysis of his Bodycam footage was the primary evidence used against him, specifically the moments where he ignored Jamal's identification and the visible landscaping equipment. The civil suit was more devastating for the antagonists. Senator Sterling did not settle for a quiet apology. Her legal team filed a federal civil rights lawsuit alleging malicious prosecution, battery, and a pattern and practice of racial profiling within the precinct. During the discovery phase, it was revealed that Martha Higgins had made several recorded statements to neighbors expressing her desire to clean up the neighborhood and remove the elements that don't belong. These recordings, provided by other neighbors who had grown tired of her behavior, proved the malice required for a high-value settlement. 2 years after the incident, a jury awarded Jamal Sterling $3 million in compensatory and punitive damages. $1.5 million was to be paid by the city's insurance carrier, while the remaining $1.5 million was a personal judgment against Martha Higgins for her role in the malicious report. Higgins was forced to sell her home, the very property she was so intent on protecting, to satisfy the judgment. The legal fees for both the city and Higgins exceeded $400,000, bringing the total financial impact of the 10-minute encounter to nearly $3.5 million. This outcome raises a difficult question regarding accountability. Justice in the civil court took over 2 years to materialize, and it required the victim to have a mother with immense political and financial resources. Is a $3 million settlement a sufficient deterrent for false reporting? Or should there be mandatory prison time for weaponizing emergency services against innocent citizens? Does the financial ruin of Martha Higgins feel like justice to you? Or is it an extreme response? Tell me what you think in the comments. Today, Jamal Sterling is a junior at an Ivy League university, majoring in civil rights law. His $3 million settlement is held in a managed trust, which he has used to start a nonprofit that provides legal representation for minors who have been victims of police misconduct. He still has scars on his wrists from the handcuffs, a permanent physical reminder of the afternoon his neighborhood turned into a crime scene. His business, Sterling Landscaping, still operates in the Oaks, now run by a team of local students he employs, providing them with a safe environment to work. Officer Miller's recertification was denied by the state board, effectively ending his career in law enforcement. He currently works as a private security consultant for a warehouse in a different county, earning a fraction of his former salary. He is still paying off his own legal fees, which totaled over $150,000. He remains vocal on private forums, claiming he was a pawn in a political game, refusing to acknowledge the forensic evidence of his own conduct or the physiological errors he made during the escalation. Martha Higgins lives in a rented 2-bedroom apartment in a neighboring town. Her social standing in the Oaks evaporated as the details of the lawsuit became public. She is often seen in local community forums, still complaining about noise and changes, but she no longer has the ear of the local police. Her legacy in the neighborhood is not one of a founding member, but as the woman whose bias cost the city millions and lost her $1 million home. When we look at the Bodycam footage of Jamal Sterling, we aren't just seeing a bad day for a teenager. We are seeing the intersection of ancient biases and modern technology. The camera does not care about the quote 28 quote of the caller or the quote 29 quote of the officer. It records the steady breathing of a boy who was just trying to finish the lawn, and the frantic escalation of a system that was never designed to protect him. In the end, the truth wasn't found in the 911 call or the officer's report. It was found in the silent digital witness of the lens. The forensic reality is that Jamal Sterling was never a suspect. He was a target of a system that failed to look at the evidence. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.